Hey guys, welcome to a patron-only Alt-Shift-X behind-the-scenes preview of the Westworld Timeline video we're working on at the moment. So this is like a quick, concise overview of the entire Westworld series before we do like a detailed episode analysis of the finale. So this is meant to be like the TLDR of the whole thing, and there's a fair bit to it. The intro, I think, will go something like, Westworld is so full of flashbacks and time twists that it's hard to tell what's happening, let alone if it's a good story. So let's figure out the timeline from the beginning. About 35 years ago, Ford and Arnold created Westworld and the hosts. They got investment from Logan, the son of James Delos. After Arnold's son Charlie died, he became close with the host Dolores and helped bring her to consciousness, represented by the symbol of the maze. But Arnold realized that conscious hosts would suffer in the Westworld Park, so he tried to stop the park opening by programming Dolores to kill the hosts and himself. The host Akecheta found the aftermath of this massacre, which started his path to consciousness. He spread the maze symbol to help wake other hosts. Despite Arnold's death, Ford opened the park anyway, and he created Bernard, a host based on Dolores' memories of Arnold. That's the early history of Westworld. A few years later, Logan brings William to the park. William falls in love with Dolores, but then turns to violence and darkness, becoming the Man in Black. William leaves Logan in the desert, and he and James invest more in Westworld. William marries James's daughter Juliet. And he and James invest more in Westworld. William builds the Forge to record Westworld guest data, so they can decode the human mind and make immortal copies of people. William marries James's daughter Juliet and takes over the Delos Company. Logan falls out with his father James and later dies of an overdose. When James dies, they make an immortal copy of him, though he keeps breaking down. So this stuff is the past timeline of Season 1. 30 years later, the rest of Season 1 happens. After Juliet commits suicide, William kills Maeve and becomes obsessed with the maze, which is his quest in Season 1. But the maze is really about host consciousness, so Dolores awakes by remembering her journey with William years ago. Maeve awakes with the help of Ford and decides to look for her host daughter. There's a power struggle between Ford and the Westworld executives Teresa and Charlotte, and in the Season 1 finale, Dolores starts a robot revolution. She kills Ford, but Ford knew this would happen and had Bernard make a digital backup of Ford in the cradle. That's Season 1. In Season 2, Dolores fights against humans and hosts. Maeve looks for her daughter, but ends up in Shogun World and gets mind control powers. Akecheta leads hosts to the door to the Valley Beyond, a digital paradise for hosts. Maeve gets her daughter to the valley before Maeve is killed. Charlotte looks for Abernathy, whose brain has a key to the Forge, but Dolores gets the key and uses Forge data to learn about the human mind. Dolores starts a flood and tries to destroy the Forge and the valley, so Bernard kills her. But then Bernard puts Dolores' mind inside a copied body of Charlotte. Then he scrambles his own memories so that no one finds out, and he lies on the beach where he wakes up in the future timeline of Season 2. That's when Strand arrives and finds the flood. He looks for the Forge key with Charlotte, who is actually Dolores. They return to the Forge, where Dolores, as Charlotte, kills Strand. Then she decides to help the hosts in the Valley Beyond by transferring it somewhere safe. Then Dolores kills Bernard so that she can take his brain and others out of Westworld. She recreates her own body and Bernard's and plans to take over the real world. Back in the park, Maeve and friends are dead, but Felix and Sylvester might res her. After the credits, we see a copy of William in the far future. He enters the ruined forge and meets a host version of his daughter Emily. She has him trapped in a loop, a prison of his own sins, to repeat and suffer for eternity. So that is Westworld, from beginning to end. But what does it mean, and is it a good story? We'll answer that in a new video coming soon. So there you go, that's our little Westworld Timeline video so far. I'm pretty happy with it. As you can see, some of the Season 2 stuff is yet to be finalized in terms of the structure of it. I'm not totally sure which bits need to be included and mentioned. Like, we could have mentioned Kohana reuniting with Akichita in the Valley Beyond. We could have mentioned Teddy in the Valley Beyond. We could have gone into more detail about Maeve's adventures and about Bernard's interactions with Charlotte and Elsie. And by the way, the whole weirdness of Charlotte being Dolores for the entire future timeline, which means that, that scene of Charlotte torturing Bernard, that was actually Dolores torturing Bernard, which is pretty gnarly. So there's a whole lot of sort of implications around there, but I think that's best saved for the in-depth analysis of the finale. I think these are the right moments to mention about Season 2, although let me know in the comments on Patreon or YouTube if you have thoughts. There's also, a lot of parts that are ambiguous about the timing. Like the creation of Bernard, it's not really clear when that starts. And also there's the issue of, like, in Season 1, it's suggested that Ford created Bernard, but in Season 2 it's suggested that Dolores created Bernard. I should probably tweak the wording to better acknowledge that. There's also the name of this place, of the Forge, because throughout Season 2 this place is referred to as, like, Glory or the Valley, and yet later in Season 2 this Windows XP paradise is called the Valley Beyond. So it would be confusing, I think, to call this place the Valley, even though the area around here is called the Western Valley. Look, the terminology is really kind of inconsistent in the show. I think we'll just call this place the Forge, just for clarity. Although that does kind of suck, because in previous Westworld videos we've called it the Valley Beyond. But yeah, I think we're pretty happy with this. Let us know in the comments what you think. Can't wait to get this done and out for you guys. It's good to bring some clarity to this ridiculous show. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting. Cheers.